What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile. What do I got for you right now? Monarchs. Mega Monarchs. Bear with me, this is the first time I've done Mega Monarchs. I ran the original Monarchs very briefly. The only thing this deck is missing is Grand Marches and one Zaborg. So other than that, this deck is done. Let's get started. Herberus. He lets you add cards, lets you add pretty much your monarchs from your grave to hand. When he's tribute summoned, you can send 2 monarch spells and traps with different names from your hand or deck to the grave and shuffle a card from your opponent's hand at random, grave, or their side of the field into the deck. During your main phase, you can discard a monarch spell or trap and get a monster that has 2400 more attack and 1000 defense and add it to your hand. He pretty much brings back your monarchs to hand. I don't know. I was considering running him at 3, but I just left him at 2. Zaborg, Mega Zaborg. He destroys monsters. You need 2 of him, 2 to 3. And if you tribute a light monster, you get to choose the cards your opponent sends to grave. Also, if it was a light monster, both players send as many cards as possible from their extra deck to the grave, but not more than the original level or rank of the destroyed monster. Pretty much, this guy single-handedly gets rid of your opponent's extra deck. And a good thing about this deck, you don't need one. So you need about 2 or 3 of him. Ether, whatever her name is. She's at 1, obviously. You guys know what she does. Mobius, the Mega Monarch. You need to run 2 of him because he blows up back row. If you tribute a water monster for him, your opponent cannot activate the targeted cards in response to his activation. Which means, pretty much, if you tribute a water monster, your opponent can't do anything when you use his effect. Ryza, my personal favorite monarch. He shuffles cards into the deck. You target a card on the field and a card in either player's grave. And if you tribute a wind monster, you can target an additional card on the field, place the first 2 targets on top of the deck in any order, and then after that return the additional target, if any, to the hand. So he's just a better version of his first form. Caius, the Mega Monarch. I actually like this card. I also considered running him at 3. When you tribute him, you tribute a dark monster, you can banish all cards that you can target a card on the field and banish it, and inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. If it was a dark monster, you can banish all cards with that name from the hand, deck, extra deck, and grave of the player who controlled it. And if you tribute a dark monster, you can target up to 2 cards instead of 1. So he pretty much does the same thing as Mega Zaborg, but he's better. Edea, the Heavenly Squire. She lets you special summon a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense from your deck in defense. If she's sent to grave, you can target one of your banished monarch spells and traps and add it to hand. This gets back any monarch spell and trap that you banished. Edios, the Underworld Squire. He can banish himself from grave. When he's normal summoned or set, or normal or special, you can, during your main phase, you can tribute summon a monster in addition to your normal summon or set. Pretty much he acts like a double summon. He banishes himself to target a monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense in grave. and special and defense. So, he banishes himself to special at a grave. Mithra, the Thunder Vassal. She also acts like a double summon. She summons a vassal token to the opponent's field in defense. And if this card is tribute for a tribute summoned, you can tribute one monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summoner set. So pretty much she gives you another normal summoner set. There's one other monster, vassal monster you should consider. It's the wind one. It lets you search out the other vessels in your deck. Dominion of the True Monarchs. This field spell is pretty good. Well, you control no extra deck cards, and you're the only player that controls a attributed summon monster. Your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. If you tribute summon a monster you control attacks opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack during damage calc only. Once per turn, you can reduce the level of one monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense to your monarchs in your hand by 2 into the end phase, even after they are summoned set, and even if this card leaves field. Really handy. Like I said, you don't need an extra deck, since most decks nowadays require the extra deck as their source of power. If you get rid of that, their decks are pretty much shit. Pantheism is at 1. You guys know what this does. Stormforth. You guys know what this does. It's at 1 also. You should be running 3 of this, but I only have 1. Frost Blast of the Monarchs. What it does is if you control a monarch, pretty much a monarch monster, you can target a set card on the field, destroy it. Then you can banish one spell, this card, and one monarch spell and trap from grave, and target a set card. So this gets rid of back row, besides Mobius. Tendency lets you search out your monarch spells and traps. March of the Monarchs. Very good for this deck. Tribute summon monsters you control cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects. So pretty much, it's like a Magispector effect. Return of the Monarchs. I thought about running this at 3, but I decided to leave it at 2. When you tribute summon a monster, you can activate one of these. Add from your deck to hand a monarch monster with a different name than that tribute summon monster. Or add from your deck to hand a monarch monster with a different name than that tribute summon monster. The tribute summon monster must be faceable on the field to activate and resolve this effect. That's one downside. The monster has to be face up. A friend of mine, he asked me about trade-ins, so I just took him out of another deck and I put him in this one because I don't have enough trade-ins. Pot of Dichotomy. Very handy for this deck because it shuffles 3 types of monsters and draw 2 cards. You just can't battle. The first Monarch. This summons a token, and you discard a card to declare an attribute, and this card becomes that attribute, and is treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster of the same attribute. And you can't special summon anything else except monsters with this card's attribute. One of probably the best trap in the deck. Escalation of the Monarchs. Once per turn during your opponent's main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can immediately, after this effect resolves, tribute summon a monster. Pretty much this allows you to basically get your monarchs on the field on your opponent's turn. I was iffy about this card, the Monarch's Erupt. This negates all monster effects except tribute summon monster effects. Pretty much this allows you to, and this can be a game changer. And the Prime Monarch. This shuffles 2 Monarch spells and traps from the grave to the deck, and you draw a card. And if this card is engraved, you can banish 1 other Monarch spell or trap in the grave. Special this card in defense. It's not treated as a trap. That's it for Monarchs. Hit like or subscribe. When I get the last of the cards that I have coming, I will update the deck. Catch you on the flip side.